Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hello. So we will be starting the first chapter of financial institutes, financial markets and institutions. So this is the first chapter. I'll be sharing the slides with you in the group. So we are going to look into the role of financial markets and institutions, what are their characteristics, what sort of financial markets there are and institutions there are, how they are putting impact in our life and why it is important nowadays. Okay, so let's start. So we will be looking into the overview of financial markets, types of financial markets, securities traded in financial markets, and how to do valuation of securities in financial markets. We're going to also look into and learn about market efficiency, financial market regulation, global financial markets, role of financial institutions in financial markets, and comparison of roles among financial institutions, overview of financial institutions, and global expansion by financial institutions. So let's start. So what do we actually understand by financial market, and why do we actually need financial markets or financial institutions? So it's putting a platform where securities, financial securities can be sold or bought, okay? So basically a platform or a place where buyers and sellers who come together in order to make an exchange. Financial markets facilitates this financing and investing by household firms and government agencies. So what are the participants in the financial markets? So we have two units. One is surplus units and another is deficit unit, right? So surplus units are, for example, public. So when they have an extra amount of cash, what they do is they want to invest it into something to make it to gain some profit from it basically. So they have the surplus unit of it. Surplus unit বলতে আমরা যেটা বুঝি যে যাদের কাছে এক্সেস ক্যাশ আছে, হ্যাঁ, তারা হচ্ছে গিয়ে সারপ্লাস ইউনিটস। অ্যান্ড দেন ডেফিসিট ইউনিট, আরেকটা ইউনিট হচ্ছে ডেফিসিট ইউনিট। হোয়াট উই আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড বাই ডেফিসিট ইউনিট ইজ দ্য ইউনিট who has deficit of cash, money, who needs cash and who needs fund to do something probably. Basically deficit unit হচ্ছে যার necessity আছে cash, okay? So surplus unit and deficit units. By surplus unit we can tell the households and the normal public, they are probably the surplus unit. In that case government is a deficit unit because আমরা যদি সঞ্চয়পত্রের কথা বলি আমাদের দেশের কি করা হচ্ছে, গভর্নমেন্ট বেসিক্যালি বন্ড ইস্যু করে, অ্যান্ড এই বন্ড ইস্যু করে কি করছে, দে আর টেকিং ফান্ড ফ্রম দ্য পাবলিক, ওকে? অ্যান্ড হোয়াট দ্য participants are doing, they are providing since they have the excess fund, they are providing this fund to the government. So they are buying the treasury bond, যেটাকে সঞ্চয়পত্র বলা হয়, অ্যান্ড গভর্নমেন্ট হচ্ছে গিয়ে এটা কিনে সে কিছুতে ইনভেস্ট করছে। So a major participant in financial markets is the Fed because it controls the money supply. This slide was made on basis of US based. So Fed in the United States, where they control the money supply. In our country, government obviously controls the money supply, and Bangladesh Bank. So let's look into the types of financial markets. So there are two types of financial market. We will look into it. Financial market can be distinguished by the maturity structure and trading structure of its securities. So financial market কিভাবে distinguish করা যায় হচ্ছে maturity structure, financial market structureটা কতদিন ম্যাচিওর্ড আছে, and also trading structure of the securities, and এই financial securityটা কিভাবে ট্রেড করা হচ্ছে। So money versus there are two types of markets. One is money market and another is capital market. Okay, so money market, the flow of short-term funds is when we are dealing with short-term funds. This is facilitated by the money market, and when we are dealing with long-term funds, it is facilitated by the capital market. Okay, so we have two types of market, we can see. So, and these markets are established on the basis of their maturities. So there are short-term funds which is facilitated by money market, and there are also flow of long-term funds which is facilitated by capital markets. Primary versus secondary market. So now we're going to look into primary versus secondary market. Primary market key, they facilitate the issuance of new securities. So when a security is being issued for the first time into the market, we say IPO, initial public offering. First time যখন একটা security issue করা হয় সেটা সবসময় primary market এ আগে issue করা হয়, primary market দিয়ে শুরু হয়. So once that stock or share is being resold next time, তখন হচ্ছে গিয়ে it enters the secondary market. So secondary markets facilitate the trading of existing securities, the sale of existing stock. So secondary market কি হচ্ছে, secondary market হচ্ছে facilitate the trading of existing securities. Primary market হচ্ছে what they are doing is যখন নতুন কোনো সেল শেয়ার ইস্যু করা হচ্ছে, সিকিউরিটিজ ইস্যু করা হচ্ছে, ওটা হচ্ছে প্রাইমারি মার্কেটে যাচ্ছে। সেকেন্ড টাইম যখন ইস্যু করা হচ্ছে এটা হচ্ছে সেকেন্ডারি মার্কেটে যাচ্ছে। Okay, so organized versus over-the-counter markets. A visible market for secondary market transaction is an organized market, and some transactions over the in-counter market are telecommunication networks. So over-the-counter and organized exchange. Okay, so knowledge of financial market is power. Deciding which markets to achieve our investment goal or financing needs. Decide which market to use as a part of your job. Avoid common mistake in investing and borrowing. So we are all gonna look into details on this particular chapters, particular topics. So the knowledge in the financial market, we say, is the power. কারণ যত বেশি নলেজ থাকবে ফিনান্সিয়াল মার্কেট নিয়ে, স্টক মার্কেট নিয়ে, the more you will know about the securities of the market, and the more you will understand which securities to invest on and which is gonna get better return. Okay. Securities, money market securities are debt security with a maturity of 1 year or less. So money market security হচ্ছে গিয়ে debt securities যেটার maturity when in financial terms, when you say that একটা security যেটার maturity is 1 year or less than a year, তখন it's a money market security. যখন এক বছরের বেশি হয়ে যায় তখন it becomes a capital market security. So money market security হচ্ছে গিয়ে it's a debt security and it has a short term maturity. Characteristics হচ্ছে liquid, low expected return, low degree of risk. So এখানে characteristics কি আছে, অনেক liquid, মানে easily cashable, easily market গিয়ে sell করা যায় since it's short term, and also but the thing is expected rate of return is less. Okay, and also the degree of risk is less. So we know in finance risk and return goes vice versa. The higher the return, the higher the risk, and the lower the return, the lower the risk. So in case of money market, it's a short-term security and it's a debt security. It's a very liquid security, means it can be changed into cash very easily, but the low expected return is low. In that case, degree of risk is low as well. So then we are going to look into capital securities. So মানি মার্কেট সিকিউরিটি যেরকম শর্ট টার্ম সিকিউরিটি ছিল, ক্যাপিটাল মার্কেট ইজ আ লং টার্ম সিকিউরিটি, মানে এটা ম্যাচুরিটি ইজ মোর দেন আ ইয়ার। ইন ফাইন্যান্সিয়াল টার্মস when we say that it's short term, it means it's less than a year, and it's long term, that means it is more than a year. So capital market securities are those with a maturity of more than 1 year. So the securities which have a maturity more than a year. Okay, so it can be bonds and mortgages. Bonds and mortgages দেখা যায় mortgage আমরা যখন হোম লোন নেই বা কোনো অ্যাসেটের এগেনস্টে লোন নেই, that is obviously most of the time it's more than a year and it's long term. Capital market securities have a higher expected return and more risk than money market security. So since it's a long-term security, the risk it keeps is higher, and also since the risk is higher, the expected return is higher. Usually capital market security গুলো অনেক বড় বড় securities হয়, which are higher in weight, and also the expected return you get from there is higher, which includes a higher risk as well. Okay. Bonds and mortgages. Bonds are long-term debt securities issued by corporations and government agencies. So bonds হচ্ছে these are debt securities, okay, and these are long-term securities. Especially যেমন আমাদের দেশে bond issue করে হচ্ছে government, which is আমরা যে সঞ্চয়পত্রটা কিনি। So সঞ্চয়পত্র basically কিন্তু usually হয়ে থাকে long-term obligation, একটা long-term security, and government এটা issue করে, but then we buy it from different banks. So next is mortgage or long-term obligations created to finance the purchase of real estate. So mortgage বলতে আমরা কি বুঝি? Mortgage is basically when we buy some real estate asset, and for that we take a loan, mortgage loan যেটাকে বলা হয়. So mortgage security basically obviously it's more than a year, অনেক বছরের জন্য এটা হয়ে থাকে, because it's a huge amount mainly. So it's also a debt security. So bonds and mortgages specify the amount, timing of interest and principal amount. এখন বন্ডে আমরা যখন সঞ্চয়পত্র কিনি তখন কিন্তু কত টাইমলাইনের জন্য কিনছি, ইন্টারেস্ট রেট কত হচ্ছে, প্রিন্সিপাল পেমেন্ট কত পাচ্ছি, কত দিনের জন্য, সব কিন্তু মেনশন করা থাকে. দিস আর অল ফিক্সড. So same goes for mortgage. Okay, so the principal amount we are paying, the principal amount we are going to get, then the interest we get from the interest we need to pay for mortgages, and also when we need to pay, the timing is fixed, and for how long we need to pay. So yeah, so that's the thing. These are both long-term securities, okay, and debt securities. Okay, stocks. So stocks, we all know, what do we mean by stock? Stock is basically equity, and equity bolte amra ki bujhi, it's an ownership, right? It's an ownership. So when we are buying a stock or a share of a company, what's that? That's basically buying on ownership of the company. So stocks are certificates representing partial ownership in corporation. So when we are buying a stock, that shows the equity, and that is basically what it is. It's basically representing our ownership in a corporation, right? Investors may earn a return by receiving dividend and capital gain. So when you are buying stocks, investors may get a return from it. So যদি দেখা যায় যে কোম্পানির ভ্যালু বাড়ছে, স্টকসের ভ্যালু বাড়ছে, তখন when the investors invested into the stock, they get a higher dividend from it, they get a higher capital gain from it, right? So once you sell it, the selling price is higher, and the difference is your profit. So stocks have a higher expected return and high risk than long-term debt securities. So in stock, there isn't basically any bottom line. So when you are doing loss, you can like অনেক হতে পারে, ঠিক আছে, আবার দেখা যায় প্রফিট হলেও অনেক বেশি হতে পারে, হ্যাঁ। সো দে হ্যাভ আ হাই রিস্ক পোর্শন। So valuation of securities in financial markets. So valuation কিভাবে করা হয়, আমরা যখন স্টক কিনি এর আগে obviously we value it, so whenever we're going to sell it এটার ভ্যালু কি বেশি হবে না কম, so how do we do the valuation? So আমরা এই ভ্যালুয়েশনটা শিখবো নেক্সট কোনো একটা চ্যাপ্টারে। we will learn the mathematical problem and how to solve it, how to calculate the valuation, but for now we're just going to go get a gist about it. Securities are valued as the present value of their expected cash flow, discounted at a rate that reflects their uncertainty. So securities কিভাবে ভ্যালু করা হয়, আমরা যে 10 বছর পর সাপোজ আমি যেটা পাবো সেটাকে বেসিক্যালি প্রেজেন্ট ভ্যালুতে কনভার্ট করা হয়, and with the interest amount I'm gonna get, right? So that way we are going to know the present amount, present value of the investment we are making. Market pricing of securities. Different investors may value the same security differently based on their interpretation of information. So investors basically interpret securities differently based on the information they have. So আমরা securities কিভাবে interpret করি, not only based on the data actually, we also determine the value of the security by the information that's available in the market. We interpret them, right? So using the interpretation and the data, we basically value these securities. Okay, so impact of valuations on pricing. Every securities has an equilibrium market price at which demand and supply for the security are equal. So how do we actually make the valuation? It's the equilibrium point at which the demand and the supply for securities are equal. So at that equilibrium point we make the valuation. Favorable information results in upward valuation revisions, and favorable information results in downward revision. So what happens is, when you have good information about a company, even if it's a market rumor, good information hole, positive information hole ki hoy, security ta price ta bere jay. So at times there are rumors, it might be true and it might be false as well. So at times what happens, that time security value ta bere jay. Then again, when you have unfavorable information, it results in downward revision. So যখন ইনফরমেশনটা ফেভারেবল হয় না, আনফেভারেবল হয় বা নেগেটিভ ইনফরমেশন হয় কোম্পানির ক্ষেত্রে, তখন কি হচ্ছে, people are not buying the security, they are selling off their securities what they already had, and at the end কি হচ্ছে, সিকিউরিটির ভ্যালুয়েশন কমে যাচ্ছে। Okay, so market information এর উপর সিকিউরিটির ভ্যালু অনেক ম্যাটার করে। What happens when you have good information, people are more interested to buy the securities. At the same time, when you have negative information, people are going to sell off the securities. So in that case কি হচ্ছে, সিকিউরিটিস এর ভ্যালু কমে যাচ্ছে, and positive information থাকলে people are buying more securities, so market demand of that security or stock is rising, rise করছে। So in that case কি হচ্ছে, প্রাইসও বাড়ছে। So suppose you have positive information, ঠিক আছে, so পজিটিভ ইনফরমেশন থাকলে কি হচ্ছে, স্টকের ভ্যালু বাড়ছে। ওকে, সো ইন দ্য মিন টাইম কি হচ্ছে, নেগেটিভ ইনফরমেশন থাকলে স্টকের ভ্যালু কমছে। সো হাউ ডিড উই ডিটারমাইন দ্য মার্কেট প্রাইস অফ দ্য সিকিউরিটিস at which the price of the demand and supply are equal. So at the sorry, so at the end কি হচ্ছে, সিকিউরিটিজ আর রিচিং আ নিউ ইকুইলিব্রিয়াম পয়েন্ট, যখন প্রাইস অ্যারাইজ করছে সিকিউরিটিজ প্রাইসটা বাড়ছে, অ্যান্ড যখন কমছে আনফেভার ইনফরমেশন সিকিউরিটিজ প্রাইস কমছে, অ্যান্ড দ্য প্রাইস ইজ রিচিং আ নিউ ইকুইলিব্রিয়াম. So we covered the half the chapter of first chapter. We're gonna stop here today. Next class we will start from here. Okay, so thank you everyone.